The latest gang convicted of sexually abusing vulnerable children. Unanimous guilty verdicts brought rare accountability. The bravery of their victims, the only reason they are now behind bars.
They can't hurt anybody else. They are away, but there's a lot more men that need to be put away as well. It's not just these, there's loads of them, and it's still going on to this day.
This grooming survivor had a 25-year wait for justice. In that time, she's witnessed multiple inquiries that ultimately led to nothing. And now another one was announced by the Home Secretary.
They should never have been let down for so long.
Jonathan Bridge has represented hundreds of young girls groomed and raped by gangs of men. When you talk to survivors, what is it they want?
They want therapy, they want treatments, they want somebody to hold their hand up and say, yes, we let you down. They want compensation because many of these people will never work because they've got such serious psychiatric injury. Never once has somebody come to me and said, I want a public inquiry.
Many have given up on justice after enduring years of abuse from paedophiles. They then faced a reluctance from those in power to stop it. And who in authority knew what and why they turned a blind eye are questions that survivors have been asking for many years. The National Crime Agency will oversee a new criminal operation into gangs, but this survivor asks why those who should have protected them and didn't have never been punished.
So I think holding those in power accountable seems to be so difficult for people to want to do. It's just easier, isn't it, to leave it with all the victims.
Tonight, those in authority will insist now is the time for action. Action is what survivors of this horror have been asking for decades. Rachel Townsend, ITV News.
Well, the 200-page report from Baroness Casey delivered a damning assessment of how institutions failed to deal with grooming gangs and the sexual exploitation of children. Some of the key findings from her report are the establishment has been in denial over the ethnicity of grooming gangs. She makes 12 recommendations, among them changing the law on child rape. And she recommends a national police operation and national inquiry and reviewing the criminal convictions of the victims of child sexual exploitation. Well, our political correspondent Carl Dillon is at Westminster for us tonight. And Carl, there is a lot of anger from Baroness Casey and it's aimed at successive governments, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, over a number of issues. I've been talking to Dame Louise Casey about this report. And it's clear that one of the things that she is really angry about is the fact that despite her having investigated this in Rotherham 10 years ago, the ethnicity of perpetrators is still not recorded. In 2/3 of cases, she says that that is a dereliction of duty. She is also angry, as you said, that the definition of rape does not automatically cover an adult having sex with a child under 16. She says most people in this country would find it amazing that is not automatically covered and that therefore some perpetrators are able to get away with a lesser offence. And she's also, I have to say, pretty disgusted that although the Prime Minister said that there could be, that the government would fund 5 local inquiries into what went on with these grooming gangs, only one place, Oldham, came forward and said, OK, we'll hold an inquiry. No one else was willing to do it. And that is why she says today that there should be a national statutory, that means with the power to summon witnesses and force people to testify, inquiry into all of this. That is what made her change her mind. In turn, that is why the Prime Minister says that he has not changed his mind and that there will be such an inquiry. Although, of course, his political opponents who have been urging him to hold such an inquiry say he should have done this months ago. Both the Tories and Reform are claiming that they forced him into this U-turn. OK, Carl, thanks very much. To the Middle East now, where hostilities between Israel and Iran have continued for a 4th day as world leaders repeated calls for de-escalation. 24 people have reportedly been killed in Israel by Iranian missiles, and Iran says more than 200 people have been killed there since the start of Israeli attacks on Friday.
But as tensions continue to grow, there are claims tonight that Iran is seeking talks to end the conflict. In a moment, we'll have the latest live from Tel Aviv and near Iran's border with Iraq. But first, our senior international correspondent, John Irvine, has the latest.
Iranian and Israeli missiles coming and going over Tel Aviv. A war of worlds. Whoa. This footage, shot by an airline passenger over Kuwait, shows Iran unleashing a barrage into the pre-dawn sky. These missiles take about 13 minutes to fly the 1,000 miles to Israel. The lengths the Israelis are going to defend their country include outside the Earth's atmosphere, where the interception top right took place. Iran is using most of its ballistic missiles to distract and saturate Israel's defenses, to create openings for more advanced weapons, some of which evade the interceptors and strike home. And this was the result of one of those impacts. Just after 4 o'clock this morning, the war landed on the doorsteps of the residents of Petah Tikva, a Tel Aviv suburb. 4 people died in this apartment building.
2 of the people who were killed in this building were incredibly unlucky because they did exactly what they were meant to when the alarm sounded. They went into the strong room that is a feature of all Israeli homes. But it took a direct hit, and its reinforcements, well, they were no match for a half-ton ballistic warhead.
For near neighbors of all ages, the explosion was terrifying.
And then we heard the insane boom, and we didn't understand what is that. And the window on the safe room, like flight to Baghdad, almost hit me.
The defense of Israel also involves Israeli jets. Here they shoot down incoming Iranian drones. But Israeli pilots are also getting to know the skies over Tehran, a city that Israel has today urged many residents to leave for their own safety. Iranian state television was telling citizens of the capital to ignore that advice when suddenly programming was interrupted. Iran has reciprocated by calling for the evacuation of this city because the heaviest bombardments are yet to come. John Irvine, ITV News, Tel Aviv.
OK, so what are both sides trying to achieve and what are their main targets? Well, our international affairs analyst, Raghu Omar, is here. Raghu, what exactly are their strategies?
Well, Charlene, Israel's ability to launch ballistic missiles into Iran means they have targeted buildings, government buildings and nuclear facilities pretty much at will. At least 224 people have been killed. Now, there have been 10 confirmed strikes in the metropolitan area of the capital, Tehran, including the Defense Ministry and the Foreign Ministry. Now, as we can see from these satellite images, in western Iran, multiple missile storage and tunnel entrances used to conceal and hide missile-related equipment have been destroyed or damaged. Now, heavy smoke was seen around the missile and electronics facilities in the eastern city of Shiraz and at the Bidkane missile facility southwest of the capital, Tehran. Multiple buildings were destroyed and vehicles and equipment have had to be relocated. Next could be the highly protected, deeply ensconced bunkers located in the mountains around Fordow, which are believed to be critical nuclear facilities. Now, in 2015, I visited this nuclear facility, which is right in the heart of the capital of Iran, Tehran, which the Iranian authorities said to me at the time was for civilian purposes. But this could also have been targeted by Israel in the last 4 days. Now, as we heard in Johnny's piece, some missiles have got through from Iran into Israel, with 24 people confirmed dead. And some of these missiles have hit strategic Israeli targets. For example, an oil refinery in the northern city of Haifa. And Iran is also now threatening to disrupt oil exports to global markets through the critical Straits of Hormuz, which runs just south of the Iranian border. And in the last few hours, Iran has also said it may leave the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. That's the latest on a very fast-moving story. I guess the key question is, who de-escalates first? And I think Israel has more that it wants to press on with.
OK, Raggy, thanks very much for talking us through that. Well, let's get the latest now from our international editor, Emma Murphy, who's in Erbil in northern Iraq, near to the Iran border, and from our senior international correspondent, John Irvine in Tel Aviv. John, I'm going to go to you first. How long will this conflict last?
Good evening, Charlene. Before it began, the American estimate was that the Iranians had in their possession something like 3,000 ballistic missiles. And if they keep using them at the current rate, they'll probably run out in 3 to 4 weeks' time. If and when that happens, it's difficult to see how Iran continues to wage war. The Israelis, by comparison, have much more in their arsenal. We've seen over recent nights just how effective that interceptor defensive system really is. But in addition, they've got warplanes operating at will over western Iran and the capital, Tehran. They've been destroying missile depots and missile launchers. Indeed, the IDF claimed today that it had destroyed 1/3 of Iran's missile launchers. Without a diplomatic solution, I think this will continue to be a war of attrition, and it will continue in the same pattern for days to come.
OK, Emma, let's talk to you now. How realistically, how could this crisis be eased?
Well, Johnny mentioned there the potential diplomatic path. It does seem to be entirely overshadowed at this point by the business of war. But Donald Trump still seems to have some sense that he could possibly get the Iranians back to the negotiating table. The negotiating table, it's important to say, they were at the point that Israel launched this assault. The issue, however, is that the Iranians are incredibly clear that they will not be bombed back to the table, that they will only go back to negotiations, which they say that they're very open to if Israel stops its assault on their territories. And that is the really tricky bit. That is the bit that Donald Trump will have to use his much discussed skills as a deal maker to try and put into place. So he would have to get Israel to stop their activities when potentially they have not achieved what they wanted, which was the end of Iran's nuclear capability. And he would then have to build enough trust with the Iranians that they actually take him at his word and believe that if they do go to the table, their attacks will not continue.